Hey guys, Michael here from michaelsherlock.com. I want to talk to you today about my expected roadmap for Apple in 2011. Now, I don't have any inside information. I don't have any insiders giving me leaks and inside looks into the future. And I'm not a wizard either. But these are just how I expect software and hardware events and refreshes to play out in 2011 based on past events. So, the first thing, we'll start with software first, and then we'll go into hardware, and then some stretches and unexpectations, I suppose. But first, software. So, January 6th, obviously, the Mac App Store launched. That was a pretty big deal. It brought the extensive marketplace that Apple has developed for iOS devices to the Macintosh platform. I've already given you a specific video about that, and that's already launched. So let's move on. iWork 11. I expect this new version of iWork to ship in the first half of 2011. New pages, numbers, and Keynote. I think one of the biggest things that we need to see is better compatibility with Microsoft Office. Now, you do have an option to export into, .ppt, .docx, all that stuff inside of the current apps that we have. Unfortunately, though, it doesn't necessarily work perfectly. Now, I understand compatibility is not going to be 100%, but almost every time I've had to export a Keynote thing and play it in PowerPoint, stuff hasn't worked right. It just has been a pretty big disaster. So I think it needs to be better compatibility. So even if the theme that you're using maybe doesn't work with PowerPoint, at least it comes out as a reasonable looking presentation. So if there's something at the last minute that you need to do, you can go ahead and do it. And just another thing, it would be kind of nice. I don't know what the licensing agreements are, but there's not really a reason to have two different, file extensions for saving. So maybe, the default thing for Pages could be .doc. That would be kind of convenient. I'm not exactly sure how that works. Probably they'd have to pay, and Apple probably won't do that, but just as a dreamer, that would be nice to have. Final Cut, Studio, and Express. This is going to be updated in March, April. Last year, some people said that, they're changing Final Cut Studio so that it's more for the prosumer, and that's just BS. That's garbage. Apple said it was garbage, and I'm telling you it's garbage. Why? Because Final Cut Studio has become the industry standard in Hollywood and across the world for editing. So obviously Apple's not going to take away that monopoly, if you will, they have on that market and make it for prosumers. That's what Final Cut Express is for. We're going to see all new feature set, but of course it's not going to completely eliminate the ways of the past. This is a refresh, this is a bump, so stuff will work better, it'll be more efficient. There may be new features and it may be a little bit easier to use for somebody who's just picking it up, but the power that we've come to expect from Final Cut Studio will remain, and this will be an excellent suite, probably priced at around the same price points. Again, first half of this year, March, April is what I'm expecting. And of course, Mac OS 10, not X, OS 10 Lion, that's coming this summer. It's going to bring a lot of improvements over Snow Leopard and Leopard. Snow Leopard really was just an efficiency patch. That's how I like to look at it. It really wasn't a new operating system. It just made everything a little bit better. And of course, at the beginning, it actually wasn't better at all. But they made it a little bit better, so now Lion's going to come out this summer. Hopefully, we know that it's not going to support PowerPC, I believe, so hopefully that, since they can drop that support, it'll be lighter, it won't be as big of a file install, and it'll give us, efficiency bumps on current hardware, but will also include a lot of new features that they've mentioned, and hopefully some new features that they've kept hidden for now. So that's the software. Now let's look at the hardware. So obviously that Verizon iPhone did come out on January 11th. It'll be shipping February 10th, and you can pre-order it February 3rd if you're an existing customer. That was a pretty big deal for a lot of Verizon people out there. But the iPhone 5, when is that coming out? June, July 2011. There's speculation that they're going to include a chipset that is both CDMA and GSM in one device. But either way, I expect a GSM as well as a CDMA version of the iPhone 5 to come out at the same time. This is going to include a lot of improvements, probably an updated A4 chip. People are calling it the A5, the A8, whatever. Could be dual core, could be 1.5 gigahertz. I'm expecting dual core, especially because that's what a lot of other manufacturers are doing. It's going to be a pretty cool thing, and I hope that it includes NFC or near-field communications in that as well. And that'll be a future video when I really get into NFC. But the iPad 2, I made a video in the past, March, April. I'm sticking to that. is probably going to come out. One thing I want to clarify though, if you saw that video, when I was talking about the Retina display, there's a lot of rumors coming out that this iPad 2 will have a Retina display. What I was simply saying was there's no way that Apple's going to be able to fit 326 pixels per inch into an essentially a 10-inch screen. So obviously the resolution may be bumped up, but it's not going to be the same pixel density as before, just in my 2 cents. But again, the iPad 2 will probably include spec bumps as well, and a new screen, maybe increased resolution as we just mentioned, but definitely some way to improve fingerprint resistance, because that's really a big issue, especially if you're reading on there. So what about the iPods? That's going to be September. This is usually a yearly refresh cycle with the products, the iPhone, iPad, iPods. Probably definitely a new iPod Touch based on what the iPhone 5 looks like. New iPod Classic, maybe, that hasn't been updated in a really long time. That didn't get updated last time. And a new Shuffle and Nano. And with the Nano, I'm thinking they're probably going to go back to the ways of the past. Maybe not the screen. I didn't really like that at all, with a little touch screen on there. But that's just my 2 cents on that. So now let's talk about the Macs, the Macintosh line, desktop and laptop. This is a little bit harder to predict because unlike the iProducts, there are updates to the Macs more than once a year. So it's a little bit more difficult to guess, if you will. Spec bumps throughout the year. The MacBook Pros, I'm expecting one spec bump in March, April, another spec bump in September, October, with the iMac maybe in July, and the MacBook Air is kind of a more random thing. The Mac Mini will probably also get updates this year as well in Q1 and Q2, or rather in the first half and second half. I expect Sandy Bridge CPUs. Intel and Nvidia finally resolved their long-standing legal dispute with each other, and one of the reasons why they hadn't updated chipsets in some of the Macs was because of that disagreement. Now that that's alleviated, we should be able to see the latest chipsets from Intel via Sandy Bridge coming into them, of course, the laptops and the desktops as well. But with the iMac and MacBook Pro lines, I'm expecting redesigns of their physical body. First half for MacBook Pro, so probably that March-April time slot where I'm expecting a spec bump, we'll probably see a redesign then. And then a second half iMac redesign. Again, I'm not exactly sure what they're going to do. I don't have any inside info for you, but it's definitely going to be something. Maybe they'll make it skinnier, maybe they'll change the sizes again. So now let's talk about some news, and then we'll get to some stretches. The iPhone and iPad is going to be released to more countries and more carriers this year. We saw that with Verizon Wireless with the iPhone just a few weeks ago, and worldwide I expect Apple to expand out to many more markets. I also expect, because some carriers in Europe have started to do this, iPad subsidies. They've started to drop prices in Europe. Of course, it's kind of hard to say. Maybe they're trying to clear out inventory. Maybe they are trying to subsidize it as a more general policy. But I do expect subsidy options to become available more readily in 2011. And now time for some stretches, some things that people always like to hear. What could we possibly see? An Apple television set. Well, I don't really think Apple's going to be releasing a TV in 2011. But I think there are two things that are pretty possible, but also stretches. First, the iTunes streaming service. There are two really arguments here. First, Apple could, instead of selling you a song for 99 cents or $119, whatever the pricing is, $129, that they would actually sell you a $10 a month or $20 a month plan where you could stream as much music as you want. That's more of a super stretch. I think Apple's business model is selling you songs at $1 price point. I think the other thing would be, though, is if you could take your current library and stream it to all your devices over the internet. So it wasn't via Wi-Fi, it wasn't anything like that. It was all over the cloud, and Apple's, really putting a lot of money into this new North Carolina data center. I think that would be an interesting use for it. If no matter where you are, no matter what computer, what iPhone you're accessing it from, you can access all your music. Because then that would really put the limits on storage to rest, because you don't need it. You can stream it all over the air, which would be pretty convenient. And another thing a lot of people have been speculating about is improved mobile me, aiming a lot at Google's online monopoly. Google has email, Google has Docs, Google has all these different services, Twitter, not Twitter, Buzz, whatever. But they have a lot of online services in their portfolio. MobileMe doesn't have that much. Now, of course, Apple has been working on iWork.com. It's been in beta for a while. It would be kind of interesting, and something I may foresee is that, MobileMe current features, a lot of them are offered for free, such as email, but then you could get a premium service that includes, we bundling all of the iWork Online stuff together. You can get it wherever you want. You have compatibility with Word and PowerPoint and Office and OpenOffice and Linux and Windows and Mac. You have all that compatibility. That would be something that would be pretty cool to have. But again, these two last things are stretches. So I'm Michael Sherlock from michaelsherlock.com. I know a lot of you guys hate the way I pronounce the blog, but I'm gonna keep doing it because the comments, the negative comments don't really bring me down that much. But I digress. So, what is your favorite expectation for this year? Are you really looking forward to the iPad 2, or are you waiting to jump on a Sandy Bridge MacBook Pro? I'd love to hear your feedback in the comments section below. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day.